What's up and welcome to an episode of Gizmo Slip Tech. Today we're going to talk about the best possible gaming laptops that can be purchased for right around $1,000 or less. It's going to be freaking epic. Let's get started. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is that we're talking about raw gaming performance for the money, and that is literally the only thing that we are caring about. We're not talking about like the quality of the keyboard, the trackpad, the display, the number of ports it has. You're gonna have to realize that manufacturers are gonna have to cut some corners. So some of these laptops only have 8 gigs of RAM, or they have only an SSD, or they have only a 1 terabyte storage drive. The most important thing here is that we get the most powerful GPU in the computer for the money, and that means that we're looking for a GTX 1060. We're talking about a 20-30% performance gap, and that is very significant when we're pinching the pennies and trying to get the most bang for the buck. Now, before we hop into this list, I also want to let you know that I'm giving away an iPhone 10, link down below in the top pinned comment if you'd like to enter that, and of course I'll update that comment with whatever I'm doing for the latest giveaway. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Now, the first laptop on our list is the Dell Inspiron 7577, and this is basically the Dell Inspiron 7500 series in general because there's a number of different models here, and the price point can vary quite a bit from the lowest end to the highest end. You can buy it from Dell. Right now, Dell's doing a great sale, and we've got a couple laptops from Dell on this list, and they're like $100 to $150 off right now, so fantastic deal going on at Dell right now. The model I'm going to talk about for this video in particular is the 7577, available on Amazon, which I think the price will be pretty stable on. Now, this thing has a quad-core i5 7300HQ, a full GTX 1060, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gig SSD for fast opening of crucial programs and operating system, plus a 1 terabyte storage drive for storing tons of games, a 1080p IPS display, and it has great reviews on Amazon with an average rating of 4.4 with over 100 reviews. Some strengths for this laptop is that it's an SSD and a full 1 terabyte drive. Those combined together allow for storing tons of games or videos or whatever you want to store on the 1 terabyte drive. Plus, you get really snappy performance for the things that you use most often. So if you're a smart user, you can choose whether you want to put that program on an SSD or on the slower drive, depending on how much space it'll take up and how often you use it. On to the next laptop, the Acer Predator Helios 300. And wow, that is a mouthful. And this is a lot of laptop for the money. Now, this thing has a full quad-core i7 7700HQ and a GTX 1060, which is, again, fantastic. That is the exact setup that I have in my laptop right here that I paid almost $2,000 for, and this thing is half the price almost. This thing also has 16 gigs of RAM, which again, that's the exact same specs as my laptop right here, a 1080p IPS display, a 256 gig SSD, only weighs 5.9 pounds, and they claim a battery life of up to 7 hours. I kind of doubt that. You're probably looking more like 5 hours of web browsing, maybe 7 hours if you're being super conservative. So strengths-wise, this is a very well-rounded laptop with the exception that it has a limited total amount of storage. It has the largest SSD, but there is no dedicated storage drive. Now, you can buy one of those and add it to this laptop. I think it's the one thing that this laptop is missing. This laptop is certainly worth a look. Now, this next laptop, I am a little bit hesitant to recommend simply because I have never owned one of these laptops. One of the few brands of laptop that I have never owned and never heard of anyone owning. That said, I believe they are using the same base shell from a Clevo laptop, so it can't be that bad. It's going to be a decent quality machine. I don't know if I can verify the quality of their service, but I need another laptop to put into this list that has a GTX 1060, and this has a GTX 1060 and a full i7-7700HQ. Again, exactly what I have in my Razer Blade Pro here, and it is only $999. Now, the downside of these Eluktronics N850 is that it does not have an SSD at all, and if you want to get the SSD in it, you're going to have to pay the pretty penny extra. At least around $100 extra, depending on the model you get. These are going to be pretty upgrade friendly if you want to do it yourself. Now, the nice thing about this laptop is it has a full RGB backlit keyboard that you can customize the colors of 3 different zones I think that's pretty sweet, and it's pretty thin and light overall as well. Next up, we have the MSI GV62. This is a fantastic bang for the buck as well. You're looking at MSI's build quality here. I think that's the main pro. I think the build quality and the rigidness of the chassis will be exceptionally good on the GV62 compared to these other models that we're looking at. It has really good reviews on Newegg, which is the only website that I was able to find this model in particular that has the GTX 1060 and an i5 8300H. Now, it has only 8 gigs of RAM, which is probably its biggest weakness, but it does have 128 gig SSD and a 1 terabyte storage space, so you get the nice balance of an SSD and a large storage space on this laptop as well. Now, there are some versions of this laptop on Amazon, but they only have a 1050 Ti, which is why, again, I have a link down below to the Newegg version that has the GTX 1060. Now, another downside is that this is pushing the limit of the budget at $1,049, so it's not the cheapest one on the list either. Last but not least, I saved the best for last in my opinion. It's the Dell G7 series that features a 6-core 8th gen processor, the 8750H, which has absolutely fantastic performance. Now, this is what you would get if an Inspiron and an Alienware had a baby, and this laptop is by far the best bang for the buck. It is currently on sale for $929 on Dell.com as well as BestBuy.com. All around, the Dell G7 blows the other ones out of the water in the processor department. This laptop does have a couple areas in which it is weaker. It has a GTX 1060 Max Q. It's not the full GTX 1060, so it's a little bit less performance, probably about 10% less performance. So from a purely gaming perspective, you might get a few more frames per second with some of these other laptops with a full GTX 1060. This thing only has 8 gigs of RAM. It has a 256 gig SSD, which is fantastic, but there is no storage drive included with it. So if you want additional storage, you're gonna have to pay a little bit extra. Now, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. The reviews, at least on BestBuy.com, are fairly mixed. They're an overall rating of only a 3.7, with some users really liking it, some users not really liking it. Now, I did get to see the G7 series in person at Best Buy. The keyboard felt good. The build quality felt reasonable at the very least. The touchpad buttons I hear are really stiff to click. I might do a full review on this laptop because in my opinion, it is the best bang for the dollar out there, at least if you really care about CPU performance for video editing or certain games that can really take advantage of that 6-core processor. All of that said, this thing is on sale temporarily, $150 off. For $929, the standard normal price is $1,079. Now, the next best option, in my opinion, is the Acer Predator Helios 300, tied with or followed very closely by the Dell Inspiron 7577. Both those laptops have fantastic bang for the buck, but because the Predator Helios has that 256 gig SSD and 16 gigs of RAM, that is just, I think that I'd be more attracted to that personally. Then I would just drop in one of the extra large storage drives I have from my old laptop. So there you go. That is the top 5 laptops for right around $1,000 or less. They're gonna all perform and play games exceptionally well, especially for the money. I'll have links down below to the various places that you can buy each of these laptops, at least at the current time. That's it for this episode of Gizmo Slip Tech. Don't forget to enter the giveaway that I'm doing for the month of June. I'll have a link in the top comment down below. I'm giving away an iPhone 10. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Brandon out.